Sessions made a major announcement yesterday in an interview right here on the Fox News channel. Sessions told our own Maria Bartiromo that the Justice Department will be investigating potential FISA abuses committed by the Obama administration. Finally, take a look.
Are you, sir, investigating the fact that the FBI used the dossier to get a wiretap against Trump associates, and they did not tell the FISA court that the Democrats and Hillary Clinton paid for that dossier?
Let me tell you, every FISA warrant based on facts submitted to that court have to be accurate. That will be investigated and looked at, and we are not going to participate as a Department of Justice in providing anything less than the proper disclosure to the court before they issue a FISA warrant.
Now with reaction from the Washington Examiner, Fox News contributor Byron York, former deputy assistant to the president, Fox News national security analyst Sebastian Gorka. You know, it's very interesting because we learned first, and we broke it here on this program, Sebastian, that Jeff Sessions never recused himself from the Uranium One issue, and a few weeks back, lo and behold, we had another indictment. Everybody thought that was a dead issue. I think Hillary's talking point is, oh, that's been adjudicated. Wrong. So that's ongoing. And he's saying here, I think what I'm hearing is if you lie to a FISA judge, you withhold information. A footnote that says it might have some political connections is not that the other candidate paid for these lies. So I took that to be a very serious shot across the bow.
Absolutely, Sean. So everybody's talking about the 13 indictments. Byron just wrote a very good piece about it. But the real story that we have to get to the bottom of are the leaks out of the White House. There are 27 referrals, criminal referrals at DOJ looking into the leaks, including the leak of the phone conversation between Mike Flynn and the Russian ambassador. Serious national security investigations. Secondly, Uranium One, absolutely strategic level. It's hard to imagine something larger than the sale of 20% of our uranium when we have laws on the books right now, Sean, that say America must be self-reliant on uranium. We must not import it from anybody else. And Hillary Clinton approved the sale of uranium as her husband was getting $500,000 speaking fees. So there's that. There's the Clinton Foundation. It's just the tip of the iceberg. These things take time, but rest assured, justice will be done.
All right, let me go to Byron. You had a great column out last night is when I first saw it. By the way, your website, the Washington Examiner's website, is horrible. I had to get you to cut and paste it and send it to me. You know, it's every time you click on it,
thanks so much.
Anti-smoking thing comes up again and again and again. It drives me nuts. But I want you to go through this because you're really saying, if you really look at the Mueller indictment, the way you're looking at it, it's not what people think, is it?
You know, I think you need to look at this indictment in conjunction with the testimony of Facebook and other social media executives on Capitol Hill a few months ago. There's a lot of stuff that they talked about that's not in the indictment. And what they basically talk about is some of the scale of this Russian operation. They talk about the Russians spent about $100,000 on Facebook ads. That compares to $81 million that the Clinton and Trump campaign spent on Facebook ads. They talked about how just 44% of those ad impressions, when they're up on a screen somewhere, 44% of those were before the election. 56% were after the election, where they obviously had no chance of influencing the election. And the amount of money that the Russians spend in some key states, because as you know in the indictment it talks about how the Russians became sophisticated, they learned what purple states were, and they were directing their efforts. In the state of Pennsylvania, according to Facebook, they spent $300. In Michigan, they spent $823, and in Wisconsin, they spent $1,979. The problem was all but $54 of that was before the primary, not in the general election. So all of that is testimony that we had before Congress that's really relevant to this indictment.
Yeah, facts and context and texture mean an awful lot, except it doesn't fit a media narrative. That's great reporting on your part. Let me go back to you, Sebastian, because this is now what goes to the heart of this for me. Everybody so sanctimoniously and in their pompous arrogance talks about this Russian influence. Okay, we can't talk about Russian influence and ignore Uranium One. We can't talk about Russian influence and ignore the Hillary Clinton bought and paid for Russian government dossier, can we?
How can we ignore? Again, we've got to stick to the facts of the matter. And the opposition research file that Hillary and the DNC paid more than $12 million for, one file, was used to illegally obtain a surveillance warrant against an American national during a presidential campaign. That's the enormity. It makes Watergate pale by comparison. It's a massive scandal.
Last word, Byron.
Well, I think we're just going to see more and more information about this. As a matter of fact, I think tomorrow we're going to see the House Intelligence Committee asking for more information from a variety of current and former officials about what did they know about this dossier. When did they first hear about it? When did they first learn that it was supported and bankrolled by the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC? Because these are very basic questions, and we still don't know the answers to some of them.
Well, your reporting has stood very much independent and apart from the herd, if you will, of those that live in that media bubble. Thank you both. We appreciate it. Good commentary.
Thank you, Sean.
When we come back,